Item 4.
Item 4, Superintendent's Report.
Yes, tonight we've got two speakers. We have Bradley Eddy will be doing the effectiveness report for human resources. We'll start with him, and then we'll do a bond issue update, which will be followed with Lance Crowley. So Bradley, we'll turn it over to you.
Great. Good afternoon, all members of the board. Thank you for your attention tonight. Just give me a second while we get this loaded up here. I can go ahead and say, though, that typically we'll start off by revealing my human resources team. It has changed just slightly this year. I have some photos here. Now I can do that one more. There we go. So, okay, our benefits specialist is Tracy Aldridge. Been here about 6 years, working on 7. Crystal Firestone, about the same. We did add Miss Shanice Jones this year. We actually lost someone in HR and was able to connect with Miss Shanice Jones, who's fantastic. If you have a chance to meet her, please do so. You always see a smile on her face. And of course, Mindy Havens, who is at the reception desk most times when you come in. Been here about 15 years. And believe it or not, I'm moving into my 4th year. It just doesn't, it seems like yesterday. It really does. I know that it's only been a year and a half in this role, but
Time flies when you're having fun.
it does. I actually do feel a part of this company. I appreciate everyone who did that. Move on to the next slide. I want to share with you what our goals are. And next slide, okay. So this was similar to last year. We want to improve our employee satisfaction, and that will not end throughout the life cycle of all the employees. What I can say this year that we've added that speaks to this is our exit survey, which is now in effect. So every time someone leaves, beginning this year, they will get a link that will take them to an exit survey that will ask them questions based on what their role was. Not everyone will get the same questions, but at the end of the day, it will provide us some information such as why they left, what we could have done perhaps to make them stay, as well as a host of other ideas. So we'll be sharing some of that data with you in the future. I have as at least a personal goal every year to have 0 classroom vacancies. We got very close last year. The day school started, we were 8 short. We go special ed, sadly. But we do intend this year, the 23-24, starting as fully staffed. We're continuing to widely recruit. And just doing that for the last couple of years up in Muskogee, actually, people are starting to recognize us and see us there. They almost expect us there. So that's kind of what we like to see. So we want to retain and ensure the success of a diverse and highly qualified workforce. I really am harping greatly on keeping people here. So our focus is on learning and applying what makes employees stay. Finally, improving efficiency of the department through improved systems. We have a host of things this year that we've added. We do have a new application system. I don't know if you've had a chance to interact with that. Not completely different from what we had before, but the functionality does allow for some paperless activities that will start in this hiring season. So that will allow a principal to put on a posting, do everything that requires all the way to somebody being hired in their building without paper at all. So also increases accountability because you know where the papers are, and so it's just an all-around better system. And then finally, we have a new time clock system that is very accurate and will actually remove the necessity to do a lot of hand calculations that we've had to do in the past. And so that's one of the reasons why we had decided to switch on that. And we're putting together an HR process manual, which we hope to be able to hand you in this coming year. We've already done some of the process and build it out. We just want it to look really nice, and then we want to continue to add to it. It should be an organic document that grows as it needs to grow, as a new process comes up. Also, in the last 2 goals and actions that I have for this year is engage in initiatives that support the overall vision, mission, and goals of MPS. We're going to maintain and grow our teacher cadet program, which is just finishing up the 1st year. Thank you, Mr. Munsell, who is the teacher of that program and is doing a bang-up job. We do hope to grow that this year. I will say that we've had an exorbitant amount of interest in this. I attend monthly or bi-monthly meetings with a group that is HR professionals across the state within education, And I was able to present this to them, and so they had me present at one of these meetings and ask a bunch of questions, ask for our materials and everything, so it's really getting us a little bit of notoriety as well. And then finally, increasing the diversity of our workforce to reflect the diversity of our students. It's always been a goal of mine in every district I've been in. So what have we done? We've purposely engaged with historically Black, Hispanic, and Native American colleges and universities in our recruitment where we had not done so before. I think we were trying to draw folks in that would fit that diversity bill, but not necessarily at those universities. And then finally, consistency in teacher selection will help a bit with that. I think if it's streamlined, a lot of the bias is removed. There is a lot of bias inherent in interviews and testing, as you know. And so we want to, a streamlined process that is also very consistent seeks to remove a lot of that bias. Next slide, please. So last year I shared some data with you, and I would like to continue to do that. And first I'd like to talk about the diversity. I want you to know that I don't feel like this has been enormously successful, but at the same time, I want you to know that we are on top of it, and we are going after it. All we have this year is 2019 and 2020. 2019-20 and 21-22, because we're in the midst of the 22-23, but we're already seeing that that has risen up in the areas of diversity, such as African American and African American Native. Asian is staying pretty much the same. Caucasian has dropped a bit. Hispanic also remains pretty close, pretty tight to where it always is. Really 1 to 2 people, based on the number of people we have in our district, can really skew some of those really lower numbers. So not where we want to be, but I want you to know that this is where we are. It's not going to disappear, so every year you can expect to see it, and we will continue to do whatever we can to increase those areas of diversity. Next slide. You're going to see the gender is very similar, and that hasn't been much change over time. In fact, I'd say if you compare 22-3 to 21-2, almost no change at all, even though we probably had an exchange of about 160 employees throughout that year. If you can turn to the next slide, this one is interesting. So in 2019-20, our turnover at the district was 30%, which is not what we would like to be. I'd like to see it somewhere around 12%, but of course anyone would. With the workforce shortage, that is pretty common right now. What did frighten me though is in 2020, 2021, you'll remember that that was also with COVID. Not sure how that equates to more people leaving, but it did. So we'll have to go back and kind of inspect. Was that related to COVID or what was going on? Because the year after that, it did stabilize and come back. Be interested to see, and preliminary numbers for this year seem to suggest that we will be retaining more of our people this year, but the true test is always May, June, and July. And that's when we get the most of our changes in employment. So let's take a look at our applications next. While we're trying to fill all of these positions, it should be noted that in 2019-2020, the district collected 1,583 applications, and the very next year, now this one also COVID came in, we got 1,444 applications, considerably less, and that trend has continued. And again, we are hopeful this year that we can turn that around. I'm hoping the new system will also help, because the old system some of the positions didn't die off quickly, and so they remained on there and people could apply for them while they were still not available. So that number may be skewed. So we think that now that we have something that's doing it the way we want to do and accurate, and we believe in it, we believe that that number will increase. Next slide is on teacher attendance and substitutes. I have a couple of slides, or a couple of charts there for you. The first one in the top left-hand corner shows teacher absences. Okay, we had 2,180 and a half absences back in 2019, and we were able to fill 1,838 of those. Once again, and now this one I'm almost certain COVID did have an impact on. We had people tell us when we would call out to get a substitute that they just were not substituting this year, mostly because of COVID. So that is not as big a surprise, but that does put a stress on the site, so that is something we need to see. The next year, we bounced back quite a bit more, and we have increased our substitutes by about 25% this year. And preliminary results actually suggest for the 22-23 that the field number is going to be considerably more. And we suspect, at least at this point, that the attendance will also, teacher attendance will also improve. The field rates, as you can see, the percentages are often better to help get a perfect view of what that looks like. In 1920, we were able to fill 84% of the substitute, of the absences rather, and in 2021, just about half. Again, COVID was coming in, so that is frightening, but also explainable, and then back to 71% the next year, and as I said, we're thinking somewhere in the 80% this, sorry. Finally, the substitute costs, I believe we captured that in 2018-19, next slide. Is it there? Ah, there it is, okay. 18-19, somewhere around the 325,000, a little bit beyond that mark is what we paid out in substitutes. This is really not the way that we want to get cost savings, because we do want someone in that classroom every day, but we also have come up with some pretty creative and effective things to do at the sites too, to make sure that kids are covered when they should be when we don't have a site. I guess the silver lining is that we were able to save considerable money. I do see that going back up this year. We're actually already over what we paid last year. So that's my indicator. On the horizon for HR, next slide. So we're going to continue to strengthen selection at all levels. I told you that we have a teacher selection process that we started this year. We want to refine that one, but we also want to continue to add on. Next year will be support, or this year will be support coming up. I'd like to look at admin, and we'll engage with the leadership in the district, come up with a process we all believe is exactly the way it should be. And then we're going to monitor and improve employee engagement, continue to work on getting that interactive data dashboard. I actually have PD tomorrow with our vendor, Alio Link, and hoping that that's my first step on to making sure that we get that in place. Finally, we have an improved support evaluation process that we'd like to look at. We've did a pretty good job with TLE, I think, and compared to what we had before. Dr. Mendenhall, I'm sure you'll remember the old rubber stamp that we all signed as, it wasn't helpful for anyone, and I suspect that the support ones that we have, you can make them effective, you can make them helpful, but just the document alone does not do that in the same way a TLE would. So I think our support people certainly deserve that. We're also going to continue building out a robust and onboarding process that's quick, gets people in and out, and make sure that we're accurate, that people got everything they need, they have our emails. So we're also going to, in the future, do some succession planning. We're nowhere near that just at this point, but I do think we should know who your next HR person's going to be, who our next superintendent's going to be, who our next teacher's going to be. So just having that in mind and doing some deliberate things that will make it not such a scramble when it comes time to actually have to do that. The paperless hiring process, which I mentioned, is underway. Also putting together a staffing plan that anyone can pick up and look at, and from that they will know exactly how we staff within the district. It's pretty common in bigger districts especially. I don't think we're going to need it to the extent of what I've seen in some of the bigger districts, but I think it should outline exactly how many assistant coaches we have at football and things like that, which will ultimately save us money and clarify expectations. And then we're also going to increase our attendance at support career fairs. Last year I did a really good job about engaging with several teacher ones. And we're continuing with that, and some of them we've let drop off because we weren't successful and didn't feel like we were going to be, but we really need to start taking those spaces and leaning in for support. We're going to start here in Muskogee at ICTC this year. So on the next, I only have 2 more slides, so next is we're on the road. We've already been to the University of Tulsa, go Canes. We've been to NSU, but we're going to engage with them again in April, in February, ORU, OSU, and OU, and SOSU, all in March. OSU Broken Arrow campus is going to have one this year too. Hasn't been enormously successful, but I think we did get one last year, so at this point, one is worth it, just about. And the University of Arkansas in April, and then having our own career fair in May. We did hire 6 people at our career fair in May last year, and that sounds fantastic. We only had 25 people that attended, but it was our first one, so I just wanted to be very transparent about that. So and then I wanted to remind you on the last slide, all of the historically Black and Hispanic and Native universities with which we engage. I will say that Howard, Morehouse, and Spelman actually, I put them all there separately, but they have their career thing all together, so it just made it look better, I think, bigger. I am happy to answer questions. Thank you for your time. Please.
Yes, you said you have a new time clock system.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that, understand that they may be difficult to get them in and out, in and into the classroom? Has that been a problem?
Classroom?
Yes.
The only ones that do the time clock are not teachers, so you're
No,
talking about
no,
like
no,
a
I
TA
meant-
going into a classroom?
Yeah, the assistants and things like that, are they able to do that quickly? Because, having them trying to,
No, it's very
Stand-
fast. In fact, as you walk up to it, it'll catch you before you get there with your eye. A lot of people, because it is a retinal scan, a lot of people think that you have to stick your eye up to it, but it'll, even as you're walking up, it grabs you.
I'm envisioning
photo.
just like the temperature thing was, you had to be
Oh, yes.
very still, and
Yeah,
then
no.
you had to wait there, so I was just worried about
I understand, yeah.
them getting into the
No, the
classroom.
quickness is not. The issue that we're getting, we have a handful of people that have some objection to actually doing the retinal scan. So in those cases, and they've reached out, I will talk to them and say, outline exactly what your reasoning is, let me hear that. If it's a reasonable request, if it's a health request, or something perhaps religious, or, something that is real, not just, I don't really want to clock it. And you can kind of tell that based on their facts that they outline.
Oh.
And then we have a way to just provide them a computer at the site. They can actually go in and do that.
Oh,
It will slow it down.
So
but
you're referring to the people that are having problems with, I was just talking about
in
the
general.
accuracy of them being able to do it quickly,
Yeah.
Like you used to just go to
Yeah, the
class.
finger, yeah.
Yeah,
I have not heard that it has slowed down.
okay,
I'm not getting those complaints. So if you are, I'd love to hear them and we will certainly address them. I mean, all of my interaction with it has been way faster,
okay.
much faster.
Good question. On your virtual, historically diverse college, we couldn't get Langston on there, that's an in-state college.
Oh, yes,
University.
that's a good point, and I should have mentioned this. At the University of Tulsa, Langston doesn't always have one. And the years that they don't, we go to the University of Tulsa, because the University of Tulsa invites Langston, it invites RSU, and I think both of those places typically don't have their own, or they're inconsistent with the year from year that they do. Which is why I didn't put it up there, because we were already there this year and we saw some Langston students. But if they end up having one this year, usually they'll reach out to us and we will join it. Last year I didn't get it.
Because I know a lot of those education people, they go to different states, and
Yeah.
Texas
we'd
will
love to
come
have
up here
them.
and
Absolutely.
grab them,
Yep.
snatch them up quick, so.
And that would
Let's
speak
try to
for
get our
diversity
hands on
and-
some of
oh,
them.
yes. Brilliant.
Well, I see that they are going to be doing student teaching down here, so,
Langston.
down
students?
in the board book, so.
I forgot
Okay.
about that.
Excellent.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Thank you.
Catch up here. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing really well this evening. Have a much shorter presentation tonight now that the field house and Ruppel Village have kind of come to completion. Hope you've all been in there, and just to talk about a couple things that are coming up here really quickly. First, we'll have Wednesday, tomorrow night, from 5 to 7 p.m. We will have our first open house for the Rucker Village store, so I hope everybody can make that out. I believe 15% discounts, as well as prizes and other things like that will be given away, so we're very excited about that. We have the opportunity, we haven't heard for sure, but possibly next week, Thursday and Friday, we may be hosting a 5A and 6A area to help the OSSAA with their site selection and those teams that are advancing through the playoffs. And of course, that following week, the 8th through the 11th, we are hosting the state junior college regional tournament. So we'll have 8 men's teams and 8 women's teams starting out, and they'll advance until just 2 teams on each side remaining and play championship on Saturday 11th. So lots of neat events coming up there. Won't have a big report on that facility any longer, but I thought I'd tell you about those. Okay, we'll start rolling through here. Okay, just a quick narrative for the next probably few months. It'll just be 4 projects I'll reporting on: the high school project, Sadler, Irving, 6th and 7th grade academy, and at least hopefully next month I'll have some pictures at Sadler, but this month just pictures of the high school in Sadler. The high school project is doing great in terms of all the big things that we're hitting. If you ever want to go by or have a tour, Dr. Penhall, we can arrange those for you. But the little disappointing news in our meeting last week, we're starting to see our first delays on HVAC equipment, which are the large air handlers that we're completely replacing in A, B, and C at the high school. We still think we're good to return to school, and we're not into any of those delays yet, but you'd hope that supply chain things were disappearing, but on some of our bigger pieces at both projects, and we'll talk about that a little bit at Sadler too. But we're still looking at moving into the new office area, which is B unit right at the front. We've added about 17 parking places, which anytime we can add parking anywhere at any of our facilities, y'all know is a great thing. But we'd like to make that move in sometimes between Monday the 13th and the 17th and have that area open when students and parents return on, I believe that's the 20th of March. Sadler, we finally got the fire line calculations completed. The city was doing their best work. We had an engineering firm that was really being persnickety, which is good for us. The client just delayed that. So those calculations were really good news, that the pressures will be such that we don't have to add basically a huge tank to supplement that system. So that's really good news. So what the city's doing in now, just like we would do, they're getting all their language together so that they can put that project out for bid. And hopefully by the end of, when we meet again in March, I'll have good news about when that project's gonna go to bid. There's still a delay on that main electrical panel. But again, I've really been pushing Manhattan. I don't wanna be overly critical, but I felt like on the stadium project or the field house, we knew we weren't gonna make our final bid day. We knew we weren't gonna make that. But they didn't ask for days, and that's what has to happen. They've got to come to the owner and ask for those days. So I'm pressing Manhattan to let us know, once they figure out they feel like they're not on schedule, to let us know so I can faithfully let the board know what's going on. Reconstruction is going full speed ahead in the basement and on the first floor. You can go in and see all the walls have been framed in on those floors, and there's still some demo going on the second floor. Irving roofers met with the staff last week to discuss those expectations and answer their question with Ms. Thompson and her staff. I thought that was great. We should be seeing staging begin next week and initial tear off on the cafeteria. 6th and 7th grade, we had our second meeting last Friday with their committee. We solidified a list of requests, things that they'd like to see done with those monies that we have available. We've asked them to go back to their staffs, because it's just like anything with Christmas lists. Sometimes the Christmas lists outweigh the budget, and so we've asked them to go back to their staff and prioritize what we'd like to see. And we'll meet again on Thursday the 8th. We'll come away with items, and then we'll start working on language to put those items out for bid, and hopefully we can have some bids to approve at the April board meeting. It'll be really exciting. But that's kind of the timing we need to get those bigger things done, so that when we return in August, that site's ready to roll. All right, next slide. That was the longest slide by far. So, yeah.
Went backwards. They went backwards.
Got some pretty pictures. Slide 3 will be Sadler, should be. Oh, wow, that's bad. It's the high school slide. Comes off a little I'm sure even sitting there as well. So we got 4 pictures, so this is the entry area to B. I'll have to work on something, that just does not look as good as it looked on my computer. That's the main entrance area, and what you can see, the wall back there, there'll be the typical Muskogee M when you walk into that receptionist, and the desk has not been set into place. The M that you see there, that's right in front of as you'll walk into B, kind of a main branding area as you walk right into that new front office. Those doors are being set right now this week. And then we're basically looking to the northwest as we look at the front of the Fine Arts, slide number 3. And the final slide is the new band room. And boy, it's gonna be a great space, and Fine Arts folks have been walking that, helping us label rooms and really make some decisions about how to best use all the new square footage plus the existing remodel for their students. Next slide. Okay, so here we are over at Sadler on the left, farthest left slide. You can see basement tile going in for a restroom. All the restrooms are being completely redone. Second slide there is the auditorium ceiling. So all new grid, all new lights for that area. Boy, that.
You might explain what you're looking at there, because that's, go ahead.
Okay, so you can help me as much as
That
I can.
is-
The-
that
the-
is-
the system of support that was built there, and I'm help me with the word, Dr. Van Alden. I'm
Well,
missing.
they put a scaffolding in,
Scaffolding,
and
thank you.
what's happened is that is up even with the top chair in the balcony, goes straight across. So
Yes.
really what they're doing is they're walking, and they can actually work on the ceiling that's in that room. And the entire room has that scaffolding across it. It's a pretty major,
So the auditorium is below you with the seats, yeah, you're
Yeah.
probably, what, 20 feet?
oh, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was amazing watching them build the scaffolding a couple weeks ago. A project unto itself. Second floor, we've removed all the original walls, and now the steel studs are there to begin framing and sheet rocking in that space. And then finally, the far right, we see the Manual Arts Alumni Center has been completely opened up and is ready to begin remodeling in that space. So moving full steam ahead, they're doing a great job there. Again, just a little concerned about that electrical panel and when it'll arrive this spring. And the reason that's so important, it was the same thing at the field house. It allows them to run the heat and air, which is really important as you begin to sheet rock and put carpet, flooring, those kinds of things in. So that's the reason for the concern there. Okay, next slide. And the last 2 slides are the same slides that are always there. It's just the schedule, and then one more slide. And that's just so any patron can get on anytime. Mr. Irby continues to put these on the web each month, but we have links to every payment that goes out since the beginning of this project, and we also have links to the construction cameras that are in place. Any questions? No? Thank you, appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions, actually. Let's talk about Sadler and
Yes,
the
sir.
timeframe. We put out calendars, and in every one of those calendars, we put, I think, the 3rd week in August. Do you feel like that's the wise thing to do we're starting later, so which causes the calendar to have issues?
Yep.
We put out 3 calendars, and none of them they were okay, but not what we've had in the past. So my question to you is, Sadler's really gonna be done in June. So could we start earlier in August?
No. If you remember, 24 months ago, we did this exact same thing with AR and TG. If we would have gone with a normal start around August 15th to 17th, those projects would not have been ready. We needed that full extra week to get to August 22nd, August 24th. That's not great for all the other buildings, but for those 2, we had to have them. I stand here before you humbly and say, I think a lot of the project will be done in June, but the water line to connect to the life safety system, where we are, that the city is still working on bidding for that, I think we'll need every day possible to get into Sadler on time.
Yeah.
Which means getting them out. It would be great if we could just walk in there and it was a school ready to go. I think we'll have some of that, but we've also got to get them out of Grant Foreman and have permission.
Talk us I'm sorry, I cut you off, I didn't mean to. Talk us through if we don't make it. Let's just pretend we don't make it.
Right.
Then what happens?
Here's, I wanted to throw something at me from behind. There's some Sadler parents in the background. It is the best, I'm not a Sadler parent, but I love kids, and I don't want anything bad to happen to students. I was elementary principal for 10 years, so that's where my heart is. There could not be a better situation. They are in a fantastic building. They are not, 2 years ago, when we were dealing with, Tony Getz, where they were split. You had half Whittier, which was a nice building, had been remodeled. You had another half over at AR again. That was not an ideal situation. To continue that much longer, I wouldn't have loved. So, but I know that the staff at Grant Foreman, I know the students really enjoyed that space. So that's a great thing. You're not talking about, I think if anyone can handle it, not to dismiss it, I think we have the staff everywhere, but I think that building will prepare them for that. But unfortunately, I think it's gonna be much closer to May where we see where we are on some of that water line for life safety. I think Manhattan will have their part done. I think there's some other bigger pieces that just,
So you could foresee us fall break moving in.
yeah, I think we would work through that as, with board and your decision and that staff's decision. So if you go almost 3 full years ago, what we did with Whittier in an emergency. We were able to move them in 4 days the first time. They were able to have school until we hit spring break, so that was about a 6-week period, longer than we'd have to go here. Then we made a second major move, brought other big things over, and then we did a final move and stuff. We wouldn't have to do anything like that. I believe with our relationship with the city, I could get permission to move furniture sooner, even though we don't have life safety in place with the sprinkler system. And so the move would be much smaller, and I think they could be intact by fall break.
So we're really at the mercy of a lot of other people. I
We
mean,
really are, and I don't ever want to put, we have a great relationship with the city, but this is a complicated deal. This is a fire line, water line issue that they did not have in their budget, in their plans to do. And now this has come up, and so I really appreciate the cooperation they've given us and the efforts they're making. So we're relying on them, and I think they're doing everything they can to make it happily. They have to do the exact same thing. They have to design it, they have to come to their city council, they have to get it approved, they have to take it out for bid. So those aren't simple steps.
Right.
and every year, the last 3 years, we've had, AR, a lot of people said, there's no way you're gonna have school the first day, and we did. There's no way you're gonna have the first football game in the new stadium, and we did. And so I guess what I'm saying is some of those things are out of our control, but we know the timeline. We know we're trying to get there, and it's just, there's some of these things that we're bringing up, though. If you don't have an electrical panel that shows up in time, you're in trouble, And the second thing is the water line, the life safety stuff. I mean, I don't think you can put children in a place you're not allowed to. So I just wanted the board to kind of understand and hear that conversation, because we're doing everything we know to do to get people in at that time. It just may not work, and we're hoping it will, and we're preparing for everything, good, bad, and ugly to be able to move people in, so. Okay, thank you.
So you're saying that it's safe to say that we're reaching for that, almost that last week in August as they're starting for school, but it would not affect that if we're still talking about that same week and we move up a couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
It would still be doing the same thing. We move up a couple of days, move the staff development, which we can move them up, and we can house that staff development in any building. So moving those a couple of days would sacrifice some of the other days that some of the teachers are wanting. So what my question is, would it be safe to say that we're still focusing on that same week, even if we juggle a couple of days?
Yeah, and I'm gonna plead just a little bit of ignorance to the schedule. That's more on the instructional side of the house. I've been involved in those. I'm the guy pushing for as many days as possible, because also what we deal with is we deal with parent scheduling, getting those folks to buildings, getting them enrolled, all those, so every day is critical. So I would defer to Dr. Dice on those, on those.
Well, we haven't
That would still-
finalized anything.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm using the calendar and talking about that, but the calendars we put out for everyone to vote on were 3 different calendars. And all of them have a certain time to start, which is that 3rd week in August. So I'm trying to explain kind of the reason we're not going the 2nd week in August
Right.
instead of, and I think what you're saying is a couple of days, why
In the
can't we
third
move
week,
back?
in
the
that
third
same week,
So-
should not. I mean, I'm still trying to plan with
Sure.
the possible occurrences of things that may occur for us to wait on Sadler. I was still going with that. But these other things would not affect the children or the parents. It would just affect the staff. And we can have staff development at any of our sites.
Oh, sure.
So I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate you.
I had a brain.
Okay. David, hold on just a second. I think we've got the president will move forward. That's all I have.
My bad. Item 5, no comments. Item 6,
Item 6, standing resolutions. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Muskogee School District I-20 upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve standing resolutions A through K as listed.
Mr. Chester. Call it.
Good evening, Dr. Greenhall, members of the board. I'm going to first start with my finance report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Can you go to the first slide, please? I'm doing the second report of each month. I'm showing the previous 3 months of revenue for our general fund, building fund, child nutrition fund. And I'm just gonna hit on January, since the previous 2 I've covered at previous board meetings. January 22, we had revenue of 7.9 million. This year, 6.9 million. I know that's close to $1 million difference, but I went and did a little research on that, and it's kind of a timing issue with property taxes being received earlier in one year than the next year. We're still on track with our revenue in the general fund coming in. Next slide, please. Total expenses for the general fund. Last fiscal year, 4.7 million for the month of January. This year, 4.2, $500,000. It's not that much different. Let's go to the next slide. Building fund. January revenue, 717,000. FY 23, 827,000. Negligible difference there. Like I say, part of that will be the same as the general fund with the timing of ad valorem coming in. Next slide, please. Total expenses for building fund. Last fiscal year, 1.7 million. This year, 4.1 million. And the majority of that is we're using a lot of our CARES money to do the HVAC projects. So that's kind of skewing things in, both our general fund, especially our building fund, because normally the building fund budget's, $1.5 million, but this year it's over $10 million due to all the CARES money we're using to upgrade HVAC across the district. Next slide, please. Total child nutrition revenue, last fiscal year, 498,000. This year, 470,000. That's right in line. Next slide, please. Total expenses, 215,000 last fiscal year, 241,000 for this fiscal year. Was there any questions over the financial report? I know I went through it a little quick, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Okay, let's start on the standing resolutions. Item A, for the minutes of the previous board minutes. B, schedule of payments, sure, accounts payable checks, e-payables. I think I may have mentioned this to you before, but we pay some bills electronically and we get a little bit of money, a rebate on paying electronically. It's a few $100 a month, but a few $100 is a few $100 in the county world.
Amen.
Right, yeah.
Activity fund checks and direct deposits, which will be our district payroll. C, schedule of encumbrances. We're approving POs 2451 through 2794, and those are included, listed out in your board book. Operating and investment funds operating account, 12.8 million. That looks like a lot of money, and it is, but a lot of that is money that we've collected for the payment of our bond interest and principal payments. Activity fund account, $593,000, balance at the end of January. Financial report, the financial reports are in your board book. One item of surplus property is old baseball uniforms. We're going to surplus. Contracts, G, active internet technologies. This will become out paid from the general fund. It's $10,000 startup cost for a new district website. Langston University, no cost, place student teachers. Oklahoma Department of Health, it's a health services block grant we've received for PE supplies and curriculum. There's no cost to us on that. Western Governors University, no cost for student teacher placement. POs over 15,000. I'll let you question those. If you have any questions, I would like to have one correction on this. PO 49659, we will not be using that. Was a duplicate for Republic Services for dumpster pickup, so we can scratch that one. That has been removed from the system.
49659. That's BFO.
Okay, you have 462 is Republic, and you have 46.
659 is BFI.
BFO
Yes.
waste.
I checked on that, and at one time, Republic was BFI Waste, was my understanding,
Okay,
and somehow that got on there twice. I did reach out to Mr. Rich in
Okay.
Indian Accounts Payable to find out why we were paying two separate companies
Okay.
for a dumpster pickup. I will point out 49711 to Paul Davis. You may have seen that last previously a couple months ago. Lance's original estimate was $20,000 is what we put on the emergency PO for, and it come out more, so the old one was closed, and we put a new one on for the cost of the cleanup at the high school when we had the cold weather. Well, when I hit on harness roofing, Irving roof repairs, and another one, that's out bond fund 35, and another one, the harness roofing, that's the actual to redo the roof over the school cafeteria. And the building fund, that lease purchase payment, I went ahead and had Mika put that one on early, so I've got that money encumbered out of the building fund. And the last one, the audit fee, that had been on here previously, but I think we were off $100 on it, so we put a new PO on for that. One group has applied for sanction this month, 6th and 7th grade academy PTO, and the information is in your board book on that. Also, Girls Tennis Booster Club has applied for sanctioning. One new board policy for first reading for electronic signatures. And Kay, we've got a lease purchase on here for band bleachers. I will be bringing the rec, we're gonna pick a vendor for band bleachers for the north end of the stadium. Manhattan had donated the cost of the cement slab, and I believe that was a savings of around $35,000. And I've got 3 or 4 bids on the band bleachers. The only issue we're gonna have is they're 180 to 210 days out on getting them, so we'll be well into football season before those are received and installed. If there's any questions or comments, I'd be more than happy to answer any of them.
On that lease purchase of the band bleachers, are we gonna lease or purchase? Or is it like rent to own type?
We're leasing them, and after 5 years, we'll own them, and I'm gonna do my best if we can save some money in the building fund to pay them off early, but it's a 5-year lease purchase. I think it's gonna cost us about $25,000 a year annually.
Okay. Okay. Entertain a motion.
I move we approve, item 7, I'm sorry, item 6, pardon me,
Second.
As amended, yeah.
As amended.
as amended, yes.
It's approved and been seconded that we approve item 6, A through K as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Item 7.
Item 7, approve out-of-state trip. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Muskogee School District I-20 upon recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools to approve the out-of-state trip as presented.
Any questions on this? I think there's some information there. I think the girls are going to a tournament in Gulf Shores, Alabama.
I'd like to go.
Right, too.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the item 7, girls' trip.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve item 7. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Item 8.
Item 8, proposed executive session. An executive session is proposed for discussion of A, personnel recommendations A through J, names listed below, being presented for the resignation, termination, or employment of staff members with vote to be taken after return to open session pursuant to Oklahoma Statute 25 OS 307B1.
I move we go into executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we go into executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're now in executive session. Got to get with Carla on that. I'll do that here in a minute. Let's go in here right quick.
y'all make state license?
No, it's the worst call ever. We've had some really great calls, but last year, went to Perkins and played Berkshire, they were in the first round, regional, their place. They were 22-2 and we're 19. Playing the first round. So we lose in overtime. And then come back the next day and win, and then have to come back the next day. So from Fort Dix to Perkins, it's almost 2 hours.
This sound like they usually give y'all that.
Now, we usually, yeah, but it's
Oh,
all
poor
set.
kids will do it.
No, it's all set for our girls. Our girls have the reputation, they go there every they can to make that happen.
Okay.
So, but anyways, it was, so it just happens, man. It's part of it. Because we've had some years where, so, okay, I'll take that. Man, it holds its fast. Gotta remind me, Dave, to unplug the warmer.
The one that has the stuff in the back.
The heat is bad.
Oh, I heard.
Going in the roof is.
Lime rice.
We're still working, Lynn.
10 o'clock tomorrow.
What's 10 o'clock tomorrow?
Having. We've been doing it for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it's on the schedule.
Yourself, but I can multitask. Whose glasses are back here? Dr. Williams?
No, they're probably,
Twenty-second,
Caitlin's.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Guys have a good night,
Good
be
night,
safe.
good night, good night.
It's over for us. We're, yeah. Stick the fork in us, David.
They done.
We are done.
Oh, not done till they get out of there.
We're not quitters. We just go home to rest and come back and start all over.
All right, I gotta ask you, so when you leave here, this time of night,
Good night.
how long will that keep you?
Still an hour.
For you, how long does that keep you?
About 40 minutes.
So you win by 20 minutes?
Yeah.
I drove with Manfred on Saturday night and just kept getting further away. I thought Manfred was closer. And then I missed the exit, so I had to go around.
20 minutes.
So I had to go around the other way. I got to talking and missed the first, I've been doing it for probably 15 years.
Now, did the testing go any better today?
I had three computers that were on blank again, so I gathered them, they're on the table that you were working at.
Yes.
But yes, overall, we just had to keep pausing and then resuming. I think it's the internet.
Well, I might have sent an email to all the line-wise reps and Pinnacle last night and said I'm actually looking for another servicer unless this is fixed. And they can get it fixed.
We'll let you know tomorrow.
Yeah,
Well, because it's been affecting a whole lot more than just.
yes.
Two less
Oh,
neighbors.
I'm telling you,
Did you get 'em?
about
Damn,
us.
he's a killer,
It
boy.
is, because I lost
You ever seen
internet
him?
again this afternoon, and the
Yes.
same time I was there.
Not close to me, but I've seen
Yeah,
like,
right.
like on golf course or, but no.
Better than I thought.
Yes.
Every day.
Cross confirmed.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
Here's what,
Really?
here's what I am doing. John Rich,
Yeah.
Beaver tail is good on the
Yeah,
smokes.
and it just, it blinks
You
in
imagine.
and out.
I just have no,
Right there next to squirrel. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
no.
I got the.
I mean, I'm sure if I was hungry enough,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely, but I'm not hungry enough.
Back in the hillbilly days, well, that's all we had.
I'm not hungry enough.
Everyone jumps online and the bottleneck of how much
You get a
data
squirrel
is
thing?
going to go out.
Well,
And that's what the issue
that's what
is.
we
What's the
do
most
almost
exotic
every time
thing
we
you
ever
ever-
have an issue, it doesn't matter what time of day it is.
Okay.
That's what they say.
It was in New Orleans, so it was only
So
once.
I think it's
But I
just
figured I'm
nicer.
not gonna have it.
Yeah.
But it is
False, and it's like chicken's meat.
1 hour before my bedtime, and I'm not doing French.
I don't know, man, my dad made me and I'm still traumatized.
I smoked oysters.
I have not, I've never had that.
Mussels.
I've never tried frog legs. I remember, I don't know if things still up in the, there used to be a place called the Lazy Fisher with the big.
All they have 150 kids here.
I've had,
It's
I'm telling you, don't let him know.
Mr. Chester.
Yeah, he did.
Bye.
We appreciate you guys, drive safe, y'all.
But I did throw your name out there.
That's okay.
Okay.
I didn't live, no.
Oh, so that, there used to be.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I drove there and spent all day and night.
So my first semester there was 89. And on Highway 10, there was a choke house and it burned down out there. I moved into town. I had quail there, so I can sit there. That was good.
I bet that would be good, though. I don't feel like I would be running from that.
Yeah. I do.
That's a reason people.
We're talking about the most exotic things we've eaten. Not mine, I'm not very exotic. So I had quail, calamari, and a frog leg. And I think I was crying when I ate the frog leg and my dad was threatening to take me to the bathroom with my ass. I think that's kind of how it went.
That's probably how the frog leg went with me as well,
Yeah.
so.
Just chew, chew, chew and get it done.
Yeah.
That's how I did the alligator too. It was one bite. Chew, 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 got out, take
Oh,
everything.
fried, I love some fried alligator. That was okay.
Really?
This isn't a cheesecake, or they call it a
So,
cheesecake.
I'm guessing some people, it's like a lot of things that when they're making alligator, it's a commercially farmed alligator. Over time, they're trying, just like you do with turkeys and chicken,
Yeah.
they're trying to get the gamey taste out. I don't know that, but I would guess.
I do.
Like Bourbon Street buffet, it was like, this was chicken cousin Boudreaux made it. Cousin Boudreaux made it. I don't know his actual name. I did have that this past fall in Lafayette. I had boudin. They're always talking about it on, it was good, man. Oh, the boudin sausage balls.
Lint brews and talcum.
Had boudin.
balls.
Okay. Yeah, they were excellent. I don't know what was in them. They were.
Ones that are-
John Benjamin said, I'm surprised you're eating that. I didn't like the way he said it. I was like, don't say a word.
One of my, ones that her show, AIDS, her husband drove semi-truck, so every time we go down to New Orleans, we come back with some boudin.
Oh, wow, nice. You're not gonna lie. Hey, Crazy episodes on it. No, we didn't.
Oh.
So they ate like Nutrimac. They like Nutrimac. Grandma, I don't know if they really, maybe it's just to make the rest of us think they do. Celebrity Club right now.
They closed, this whole little bit closed.
I've had bison hamburger. Good.
But they may reopen.
Calf fries? No, never had calf fries.
We were at Asbury.
What's the thing that's like calf fries? Lamb fries?
Lamb fry?
No, someone tried to sucker me into one of those in McAllister, and I could tell the jig was up. And they were eating them like they were going out of style, you know?
No.
It's,
I knew
Doing that.
something was up.
when I first started, we were at Asbury with Norman, and John Little ordered them with Texas Roadhouse, or something, we were somewhere bad, and
He liked calf fries.
I go to Golden Spike at the meat.
Yeah. The place I was at was one of those, the place that makes the chopped deer there in McAllister. And the people cook
Chocolate beer?
Yeah, chopped. The big
It's in
yellow.
crabs.
Yeah.
Pete's
Mhm.
place.
Pete's.
It's dip off towards crabs.
Yeah, Pete's.
Or the splits.
I did not partake.
Fresh goat in Afghanistan.
No, okay, now, at Woodall,
I had lamb.
at Woodall, one of our maintenance guys was Hispanic, and his wife both, she was a cook. She actually had a stand out there for a little while, but she made, goat tamales.
Oh.
Man, they were unbelievable. Like I had 2 or 3.
You ever tried lingua?
What's lingo?
Oh.
Johnny, but there's another word they use for that too. They have it at the place that we go, right over on East Side Boulevard. Yeah, but they call it something else.
They've got the barbacoa, which is barbecue.
I can't think of it. If you say the name, then, was it,
Chicharrones.
I'll think of it.
I'm gonna go grab all this.
I've heard several things in that Norris Mexico, I'm not sure.
I didn't know.
Ask.
But
It's
just-
just on a regimen.
Is that more from one that's closest to Padre?
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right on the
So,
website.
my Padres, they're all, you know, Indians, down Padre.
Well, we have a man
see y'all, and they're like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going anywhere but there. I can just go to Carlos and Charlie's backyard, and I'm gonna be just fine. I can see what's going on over there, and there are soldiers with machine guns.
That's a foreign exchange for 4-H with a student in Japan high school. And he talks about while he was over there, he was like, don't tell me what's in it till 8 hours after I eat, so I can unadulterated decide if I liked it or not.
Lingua is the only thing I can.
I was thinking there's something else.
Tongue of cow.
I got it. Yep, those are my two. The first time I went to Latvia, we were eating in Pastor's house. And they had no money. And they were cooking for about 8 of us. Very humble home. And I know we were eating mud. I found that out later, that it was mud, just old sheep, right? And my son, same thing, probably my dad, I'm like, it's kind of almost gay. The last time my son, he was in college, we go, and he'd eaten 2 of them. And, so this older kid, Latvia, played basketball, I said, oh, Coleman's, everything, all their male names end with S. Coleman's, I did not know you like these kind of dogs. And Coleman said, yeah, I have dogs. He said, yes, but, and his English wasn't great. He said, made from, home to chicken, right? And he goes, yes, but not chickens, the small, and so a girl standing by, some American girls, and they were kind of a lighter, paler hot dog. And the girl standing beside us, Julie Hill goes, chicks? Yes, baby, cheeks. Oh, man, he's throwing up out of his fingers before he can even turn around. It got him so bad. I don't still bring that up. Oh, yeah, that's right, chicks. That's what I was thinking for, trifles. Yeah, and they have that, stomach line. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's worse.
It's worse.
It's
Yeah,
worse.
it's
It's other stuff cooked inside.
Cooked inside of the,
Yeah. I'm trying, you've never heard anyone say they're going to Scotland for the food. There's never, no one's ever
anywhere in
said.
England, no, the whole
Yeah.
UK, that's true. No, when they add
Bland,
flavor, they taste
but-
better.
Yeah, it's like certain Asian countries because they can't keep their meat, so that's why they make it so spicy and it'll keep longer and whatever they want. Yeah. Yep. Same thing, that vinegar.
I was reading a thing on a case study about how people who eat less safe, more bacteria ridden, wrong word.
Laden.
Yeah.
Laden, yes. The more of that you eat, the better you are at being able to handle it and not be phased by it.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why you've got Joe Schmo from the back sticks that's eaten crap his
Yeah.
entire life, has iron stomach.
That's how immune systems work, when they work.
I'm worried with the antibiotics they've had me on, I'm gonna be in trouble.
Nah, if you do them, now, they are starting to back off on, most doctors on how taking it to the bitter end. You know, you have to take 30, but don't stop.
Yeah.
They,
They're changing that because they're finding that maybe you don't need to.
vancomycin, cefepime, which are both artilleries, and cefamycin, I think it's in there,
I don't mind.
I got till 10. They hit me with one other that I was like, my wife works for an infectious disease doctor. I only hear that word once every 6 months. It started as a symptom.
Well, you said you had some substance or something.
They
Kill
wouldn't
yourself or.
They wouldn't get, when I went and got tested on, I just went to mid now, I mean, I wasn't gonna go to my doctor at Tulsa, but at the first they tested me for strep, which was negative, so
Yeah, you
they
said.
said, hey, we'll go ahead and do flu and, COVID if you want. I said, that's fine. But I was hoping I'd get some antibiotics, and they're just like, really? It's not strep, we really shouldn't, it's not gonna do any good. It's like, I'll feel better tonight.
Just give me some sugar pills.
Tell me it's an antibiotic.
No.
Yeah. See what it leaves.
It doesn't actually have to be antibiotic. Tell me it's an antibiotic.
And you need one of those.
Yeah, I just want to. telling David when I got to work, we went to, Speedway Grill, I was hungry for something tasty. The flavor was fine. I hadn't lost taste, it's just that, it tastes so bad. But, yeah, Whataburger, fries.
Latest one I've had.
No, send those back, please. I don't want the bill.
Friday night after, I got home, they didn't start, they didn't come in and get me to take the DOR until 4:30. I'm like, you wanna get this done, I'm not sitting in the hospital all weekend, because I have a boo-boo in my hand. So they get done, we're headed home. We've had strep going on the house all week. Not cool, it didn't click until Saturday morning. My throat's not sore because I've got strep with 3 antibiotics, I could probably kiss somebody and cure the strep. They intubate you and they put you all the way under. Yes. And it didn't click.
It's always your whole works.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good place to leave it, I guess. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna move to Cheshire, something else.
Right. Something was missing, you never did. It was us. You think he's pissed at him? I only 7 longer than I want to say 15, it's kind of 55. I just get up there and I get going. You know, well, and then they did ask about 5 minutes worth of questions. But you speak every week, so I have the questions. Did they bring us food this week? What? Did they bring us food this week? It was a salad or something. I don't like that. Sure you don't want some food? No, I'm good, man. This looks good.
I think, yeah, it really did sound good.
Yeah.
My wife was making something, so it'd be bad if I.
My wife works tonight, so it's perfect for me. I have absolutely every intent to, I live 3 blocks behind Horse Chicken. I have absolutely every intent of about the time I can see the water tower coming up 51 from the turnpike.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hydrocode on it going any way down, so I'm gonna hit it. Drive through on the way home.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, you gotta be short.
Seems scary.
I know.
Get back in there, Larry, go to work. On my phone. And I couldn't find any down here on this floor. I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, and, because Tim was talking about having to go to parent teacher conference.
Oh,
See,
oh, that's
really
right.
fascinated by when we made this schedule. I mean, I don't get involved. We're here no matter what. But why they chose Friday off instead of President's Day? It would have been more natural day to take off, but.
I know.
It's
It's strange.
Because things like Mary's had yesterday off because of working in banks.
Uh-huh, right. Yeah,
I don't know what our attendance was like yesterday. I meant to
I know.
ask, it was, Mindy said, phone's never this slow on a Monday. I'm sure a lot of people pick all of the holidays. Yeah.
It was really quiet yesterday.
Yep. So I figure attendance was, because our students, when we're about 80%, we don't have issues, our kids get along. It's when we're all here
Uh-huh.
on buses together and sitting in classrooms that are crowded, we don't get along well.
It's like physical material.
So is Garrett not having to drive a bus?
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day.
I would say 4 out of 5 days he drives Tuesday
Right.
on the PM.
I was just curious.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, it's just really does, he'll go, I think he's going a couple weeks where he doesn't have to. Here and there, but.
I guess everyone's accepting him pretty well.
I think so. I haven't heard any complaints. I mean, you know, your biggest fault when you go into something like that is you're not Brad.
I know.
But, you know this as well as I do. We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses.
Yeah.
The neat thing, Garrett, I think a lot of his strengths are Brad's weaknesses. I think a lot of Brad's weaknesses are Garrett's strengths. So,
Uh-huh.
I think they'll immediately see some things that they like, but he's not gonna be able to be that guy that Brad was.
Yeah.
In some ways, that's gonna be good. There are some people out there that will like that. You know,
Yeah.
felt Brad was probably too compassionate and too soft at times.
Right.
Very easy to say no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'll do it. I'll keep telling them that they are.
That's what I'd say too. He said he's gonna take a cookie home to his wife. I said it ain't gonna make it.
Sweet.
It ain't gonna make it. That cookie ain't gonna make it home.
It might make it out of the parking lot.
I was gonna say it probably ain't gonna make it across Main Street. Oh, oh my gosh. Hello. Hello? I'm in board meeting. What's the matter? Y'all just not getting home? Oh gosh. Are y'all at the high school now? Call me when you get to the high school. They're on their way from Pryor. Softball game.
Dad, she wants you right there.
Sure
So when
do.
she gets off the bus, that she doesn't have to even wait.
I just want to make sure you gonna be there. That's what she
I
told me.
I got you.
That's
Yep.
horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Baby, let that.
It ain't no baby. All right, I guess we can return to open session. Who's gonna read that announcement?
I am. I got
All
it.
right, way to go, Tommy. Oh man.
Yeah, just item 9.
Oh. Item 9. What in the
Return to open session.
Item 10.
Item 10. I'm sorry.
Executive session minutes compliance announcement.
All members of the Board of Education present at this meeting attended the executive session. Dr. Jerry Mendenhall was asked to participate in the executive session. While in executive session, the board discussed only the following items. A, personnel recommendations, A through J, names listed below, being present for the resignation, presented for the resignation, termination, or employment of staff members, with vote to be taken after return to open session. It's authorized by Oklahoma statutes Title 25, Section 307B, I, or 1. No other matters were discussed and no votes were taken. The board returned to open session at 7:25 PM.
Item 11.
Item 11, personnel. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Muskogee School District I-20 upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve personnel resolutions A through J as stated.
I move to approve item 11, A through J as stated.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve item 11. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 12.
New business, there is none.
Item 13.
Adjournment,
I move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded we adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.